Hello and welcome back to Lessons in Attachment. Today we are diving into a topic that really hits home for so many of us. If you're currently on a journey going from anxious attachment style towards secure, if you find yourself preoccupied with what other people are thinking, what other people are feeling, at the expense especially of your own needs and what you're thinking, what you're feeling, your internal world, then this episode is for you. Let me start by saying when it comes to people with anxious attachment, this is something that is really, really common. You're often really on high alert, hyper vigilant to what is going on in someone else's world, especially if this is someone that you like. And either that is neglecting yourself or it just comes automatically that you don't consider your own internal world in the same way. Today, we're going to actually explore that preoccupation with other people. I'm going to give you some real life examples. And most importantly, I'm going to share some actionable tips to help you shift more towards secure attachment. So, for those of you that don't know, I'm Carly Ann. I am the very proud founder of the Attachment Recovery Gym. So, that is the perfect online membership for those of you that are currently in that taking action educational phase of your healing. And for me, I deliver from a place of over a decade of professional experience and over 3 decades of personal experience. So, this is really for those of you that are determined to take action and exercise and develop your secure attachment style. And let me just say, actually, do you know what I should say to those of you? Because I know plenty of you are listening to this on the podcast, and I have been uploading this to YouTube as well. And so, for those of you watching, I just have to say, it is like so hot in this room. I'm literally sweating. So if you do see me sweating beads, we're just going to go with it because I'm pretty much 9 months pregnant in a boiling hot room that feels like a sauna. And I really want to get this material recorded for you because we're kind of going through, I guess, like this theme at the moment of moving from anxious towards secure. Now, amongst that and being able to support you with that, is a brand new free workshop that I have with you or have for you. It is deep diving into anxious, preoccupied attachment, the development of it, how it shows up, and then also giving you some different interventions that help you, that help people target different symptoms. So maybe that's your thinking, maybe it's emotions, maybe it's behaviors, maybe it's self esteem, but it targets different difficulties that you face when it comes to moving from anxious towards secure. So that's completely free. And yeah, the next few episodes will really be outlining more about that. How do we actually become secure? Because I know that that is a question that so many of you are asking is, does this work? Can I really do this? And I've been there and I really believe in you and I believe you can absolutely do this. So if you want access to that free workshop, literally all about going from anxious, preoccupied towards secure attachment, then just go to the description of wherever you're listening to or watching this, and you can get access there. So let's think about anxious attachment and that preoccupation. So, one of the things that those of you that really do relate to being or leaning more towards an anxious attachment is really characterized by that deep seated, that deep fear of abandonment, a constant need for validation from outside of you, usually. And it often manifests in terms of preoccupation with other people's thoughts, experiences, feelings. If you think about it, a lot of the time, the way that people even find the work that I do is because they are searching for things about an avoidant person, things about why people pull away, what they're thinking, what are their experiences, quite often more than your own. And that's actually something I'm really proud of when it comes to the work that I do. I really purposely, because of this, try to bring it back to you as much as possible. Still giving you the information that you want about the other person, but making sure that I guess, like fundamentally stay connected to my principles, which is to help people become secure. And so working with this is something that I have to find that balance between. So it really manifests as you neglecting your own needs, your emotions, what you bring to the table takes a back seat. And this is what we called an outside in orientation, where that external validation, where what is going on for the other person becomes your primary way of understanding your worth, your situation, your relationships. And actually, I do talk in the free workshop about why that manifests. Just in short, it can be a lot to do with your past experiences. If you're on high alert, if you, for example, played the therapist in your family or had to play that adult role too soon. But like I say, I do give more about that in the free workshop. So I'm going to give an example of this outside in orientation in terms of someone who is single and someone who's in a relationship as well, because I know that with my audience, it's a complete mix. So if you're single, you start dating someone new. After a few dates, you start to find yourself really like checking your phone, waiting for their text, analyzing every message, Googling the signs of someone liking you or someone pulling away, or what does it mean if they go quiet in this way or if they use this word. You're really wondering and interested in them. You might even be worried about them, their well-being, what makes them happy, what is it that they want. It's really about being inside their mind and their internal world. You become consumed by their potential feelings and thoughts, and like I said, you ignore your own anxiety, ignore red flags. It can be exhausting and make you even seem overly eager and possibly pushing the other person away. Because believe it or not, in a healthy dynamic, people want to get to know you. People want to know about your internal world as well and what you need. And you just put this person on a pedestal and it becomes all about them. An example in a relationship is it can look like, very similar in terms of putting your partner's needs first, constantly worrying about their happiness, avoiding conflict, like to keep the peace, to make sure that they are never in a bad mood, to make sure that you're their therapist. And you might immediately start thinking about what you can do to make them feel better if they're having a difficult time. And of course, there is time for that in a relationship. But are you also considering yourself? Are they also considering you? Are you letting them consider you? So there is this outside in orientation. It's everyone else first. And you may be completely blind to what's going on for you in your internal world, because that's something we see a lot with anxious attachers is a real disconnection to self, a real misunderstanding of what you're thinking and feeling and needing and wanting. And so that's what we have to develop. You have to develop that, because let's think about how this holds you back. Why don't you take a moment to consider, if you recognize yourself as having this outside in orientation, why don't you take a moment to consider, how is that impacting you? What impact is that having on your life to constantly put other people first in that way? What impact is that having on your relationships? It can limit you in so many ways. When you're so focused on others, you abandon your own growth, your desires, your well being. And so many of you say to me, I want to feel happier. I want to feel more content. How do we do that if we neglect the things that make us happier and could potentially make us feel more content? It really does. This outside in orientation keeps you in this hyper vigilant, anxious state. You're always looking outside of you. And I feel like we really know now that in order to have good well being, have good mental health, we need to be able to monitor, shift, and change and look after our own internal world. People with a secure attachment, they don't neglect others. It's just that they recognize what they feel and need as well. So why don't we actually have a look at thinking about, well, how is it that I have supported myself, but how I continue to help people with this outside in with the inside out, right? Because we want to shift it. We want it to be inside out orientation where your self-worth, your well-being, your ability to focus is about your own internal validation and understanding of your needs, your desires. So I'm going to give you some tips. Again, the free workshop does cover this as well. And actually, I go into another element around your attention, around focus that you'll probably find interesting. So if you're relating to this and you actually find it quite difficult to move your attention away from that other person, then have a listen to the workshop because I give this in an intervention basically. So I'm going to give you 5 tips, ideas that you can play around with, experiment with, see what kind of speaks to you that helps people to shift towards that inside out orientation. Yeah, so that you can start to just bring yourself into these relationships as well. It's a really secure thing. It's what you deserve. You've got the capacity for this. You just need to train yourself. My first tip is group therapy, group coaching. Okay. Joining a group can be really, really beneficial for this because you're going to be encouraged. There's going to be someone, so say, for example, perfect example. So whether it's when I'm delivering something in the attachment recovery gym or my upcoming course, Becoming Secure, you'll be encouraged to share your own thoughts and feelings. So you might ask me a question about what this person's thinking, or from that outside in approach. I'm going to notice that because I'm trained in that. And so I'm going to bring that back to help you to share your own thoughts and feelings. As well as that, there's going to be exercises there intentionally to develop this. So you want in self-love circles, I used to love doing things like that, going to events and circles where there was a space to share, space for you to show up and be yourself, even a space to listen to others as well, but really for you to have a moment to share, you to be listened to, you to be heard, to develop that inside out orientation where your own reactions, where your own emotions are also cared about, prioritized, listened to. So, really do recommend that. You can also get that as well from individual therapy. I haven't put that on this list, but that comes in individual therapy as well, because, of course, that space is about you. And so, with your individual therapist or your coach, they're going to keep coming back to you. Hopefully, they're going to keep coming back to you. My second tip is to surround yourself with supportive people. It is very much off the back of the first tip, but to find friends and loved ones who are genuinely interested in you, your happiness, your internal world, your thoughts, your feelings, your need, what lights you up, what you're interested in as well. That's really, really key because you really deserve that. And it is very similar to that kind of group therapy. But of course, we need to really think about our network, these relationships that encourage you to express yourself, your friendships, your network is so important when it comes to becoming secure and developing that inside out. You want to be around people where they're interested, they're attuned to your mood, and they really want to hear from you. When you share with these people, they'll ask you about your feelings and thoughts, but you need to be willing to offer that out as well. Yeah, because I know that many of you probably shut that down quite quickly and turn it back to asking about the other person because that's what you're used to, or you're afraid of talking too much, or you're afraid of taking up the time and making it about you. So you need to really be willing to provide that and give that as well, even when it's uncomfortable. The next tip is to reflect on your own needs, to really take some time. Maybe you can do that after this to journal, to meditate, to explore, and write about what is it that you feel, that you desire, that you need? What is going on in your internal world? Are you connected with that? Do you know what makes you happy or unhappy? This really helps you to become more attuned to your inner world. Yeah, that shifts that focus from the external focus on someone else and brings it inward. So if you're someone currently going through heartbreak, or you're worried about your partner, I don't know, you're worried that they're upset with you, rather than being so focused on them, why don't you take a moment to consider, what is it that you need? Can you attune to yourself instead in this time? Even, you guys know, well, you might know I talk a lot about that 1% improvement. Even by 1%, can you focus more on yourself? The fourth tip is to practice self care. You send this internal kind of indirect message to yourself that you are important. When you practice self care through setting boundaries, meeting those needs, listening to yourself, just signaling to yourself that you matter. So, that really basic, typical kind of self care is really, really important as well. So, do things that are nice for yourself. Talk to yourself in a nice way. This is really going to help you to adopt a mindset where your well-being is also important. And again, that really encourages that inside out orientation. And you're going to begin to notice when you neglect yourself. And my final tip, maybe not a surprise, but it's like mindfulness, present moment living. These practices, they help you stay present. They help you live more consciously, more in the moment. And when you're doing that, you're going to be more connected to your inner experience. The more that you do that, you're going to be really aware when your focus is going like obsessively on someone else, or when you're daydreaming, when you are just giving all of your focus to someone else, right? That outside in orientation. So, meditation and mindfulness is so, so great for refocusing your attention. And it's going to help you again understand your emotional world without even trying. It's going to reduce that anxiety. You're just going to have that deeper connection with yourself, your intuition. And that is a more secure way to live. And the more you develop that, the more you exercise that, you're going to move towards that inside out orientation. Okay, so there are your 5 tips. Hopefully, this has landed with you in some way. That's what I really want for you from this podcast. I want you to take ideas, I want you to take gems. It would be amazing for those of you that follow me onto that next step into the free workshop or the membership and things like that. In fact, if you're not following me on Instagram, carly.ann_, always got to remember to put that in. Then yeah, that's amazing. But those of you that are here on the podcast, showing up week in, week out, I really, really appreciate you. It does not go unnoticed. And I would like to leave you with a reflective practice to take some time today to just sit quietly and either journal or just ask yourself a few questions. Take a moment to reflect on, what are 3 things I need to feel secure and happy in my relationships? How can I honor my own feelings and needs in my daily life? And who in my life supports my journey towards a more secure attachment style? And hey, a bonus, can you spend more time with them? Guys, going from anxious towards secure is a journey. Another principle for me is to be really honest about that. It's a bumpy road. It takes patience, it takes self compassion. I really, really believe in our ability and capacity to earn our secure attachment style. It can happen. So don't give up. When we trip, we get up, we go again. And I absolutely believe that you deserve a healthy, happy love in your lifetime. And I will be back here on Lessons in Attachment very soon.